I am Robert.
And I'm Madeline.
And today we're going to talk about 2001's Session 9, which is a spooky movie. It takes place in an abandoned insane asylum, and there's some asbestos contractors in. They're cleaning up the mess before the building gets torn down or renovated or something.
Has a star cast, including Peter Mullen, who you know from Ozark and Westworld. And it also has David Caruso, who you know from CSI Miami and being a horrible actor.
I'm doing as best as I can. This movie was actually filmed at the abandoned Danvers State Mental Hospital in Danvers, Massachusetts. And, that location had another name a long time ago. It's formerly known as the Village of Salem. Salem? You know what happened there?
What happened?
That's one of the locations where the Salem witch trials occurred.
Interesting.
Right there, right
That's
on that
neat.
same parcel.
All right, haunted, I guess it makes sense, as almost everything that they used in the movie was found on site at the Danvers Mental Hospital. There are only 3 things that they pulled in: a set dressing, the meat hooks, some rubber gloves in a tunnel scene, and a hydrotherapy bath that was added.
The tunnel scene, it's where the young boy Jeff, not young, he's a teenager, he's a grown up, but he's young. He's
Super
the youngest
hot.
one. You like the mullet, huh?
It was doing it for me. I don't know. It worked.
He's in that's I think near where he has nyctophobia, which is fun to say. Say it.
Nyctophobia.
Yes, it means fear of the dark. And he's down in the basement in the tunnel, and the generator's gonna go out, and he's freaking out because it's running out of gas, and he's running through this tunnel with all this crap lined up, and he's trying to, the lights, you can see the lights are going, this one goes out, and this one is. That's not really what happens when a generator runs out of power. Pretty much everything goes like that. But it's good for the movie. And he's like running, and then he turns into a whimpering little sissy boy at the end when he's in the dark. But it was a really good scene. I'm sorry, I digress. They were allowed to film on the hospital grounds. They pretty much only filmed in one building because the rest of the buildings were so decrepit, like your grandfather, that they were unsafe to, like your grandfather, to work in.
Be kinder to yourself than that, Grandpa. There was actually a whole group of scenes filmed about a homeless woman that was living in the asylum at the time but avoiding the men. The directors decided to exclude those scenes from the final cut because they were concerned that audiences were going to be confused about what was a homeless woman and what was actually Mary Hobbs. Patient number 444.
Yeah, Mary Hobbs is the character that Mike, the one guy, Mike, he keeps sneaking down into the basement and listening to audio sessions that Mary Hobbs, who has multiple personality disorder, he listens to her recorded sessions on a tape recorder, and
I wonder how many sessions there are.
I don't want to spoil it, but there's at least 9.
At least.
Also, Mike moves the plot along quite a bit. He's not exactly a central character, but he's the smart one. He talks about why the hospital closed. A lot of hospitals in America. Loony bins. I'm sorry. Loony bins is insensitive. Loony bins is an insensitive term. So anyway, a lot of booby hatches closed in the 80s. And Mike says, it's a fictional thing he's saying. He's talking about the Patricia Willard case, who was at that hospital that they're cleaning up. Patricia Willard was, abused, and she had repressed memories, and turned out to be all bullshit. Well, but that's a fictional thing for this movie, but it's actually based on some real stuff that happened in the 1980s when people were all hepped on like doing hypnosis and recovering memories and stuff like that. And pretty much all of it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But it did wind up closing a lot of mental hospitals. Also, the advent of better drugs, which we can all appreciate.
Like cocaine.
No, I didn't mean that kind.
Oh.
I meant like, I don't know, Prozac or something.
Oh, yeah.
Which I prefer by suppository. Gets in the system
No shock there.
quicker. So this movie, I will say this about this movie. I was in this business for a while. And I want to say that aside from some mispronunciations of words, it's pretty accurate representation of what asbestos contracting is like.
Really? You used to be an asbestos contractor?
No, I was a gynecologist.
Is that for the smell?
So there's like no technical goofs that I can point out with respect to the plot, but there's an issue with Gordon.
There is an issue with Gordon. So we find out later in the movie that Gordon has hurt his leg via flashback. But if you go back and watch from the beginning of the movie, for all of the beginning scenes, even after the flashback has happened, he forgets to limp.
Yeah, he's supposed to be limping the whole movie, and you really only see him limp like the last third of the movie.
Yeah, I forgot.
I mean,
Didn't add or subtract to it for me.
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
I actually didn't notice it the first time I watched the movie, but once it's pointed out to you, you notice. He's Scottish, by the way. The guy that plays Gordon.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character?
Hank.
Mine was Hank too. I like him because he stole all that stuff from those people.
What's your favorite Hank line? There's really only one. No, there's more than one, but my favorite?
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
It's almost as good as I can kiss you anytime I want. Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, I didn't watch that.
He was also in Sweet Home Alabama. Hot there too.
What are you doing here? God, I say that every Saturday night. Lines from the movie.
Final note. Patient is showing extreme agitation.
Me too. And then Simon says, I'm going to do it in Simon's voice. I'll try. I live in the weak and the wounded. How was that? Was that good?
No.
And then, of course, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? So about 37 minutes in, we get a description of how a lobotomy is performed. And I'll tell you one thing. I'd rather have a bottle in front of me.
Then they're gonna bother me.
Exactly. What do you want to give this? Session 9.
I'm gonna give it 3 pumpkins.
Are you?
I am. It was really well done, but it doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
What's the Bechdel test?
There are 3 parts to the Bechdel test. The first part is there needs to be 2 female characters in the movie.
Well, you lose right there.
Those 2 female characters need to have a full-blown conversation, and that full-blown conversation cannot be about a man.
It's pretty much, there's no chicks in this
It
film.
is a sausage fest of a film, absolutely.
Pretty much. I, however,
Slanging dicks everywhere.
would give it 4 pumpkins because I like the movie, not because there's no girl,
I was gonna say.
but it's creepy, and even after watching the whole thing, I'm a little unsure. You have to decide for yourself whether it's just a suspense thriller with, a killer, or is there supernatural goings on?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it's unresolved, but I think I'll say you got to decide for yourself. Hello! I am Robert.
And I'm Madeline.
We've been working very hard to bring you October Moviefest Countdown this year.
Really hard. But you have to watch all of them because at some point one of us shows our breasts.
And if you like October Moviefest Countdown, or all things Robert, you should subscribe to allmediatv.com because it's fabulous.